are a few things that make me happier in this world than when a football game that we hyped up actually lives up to the hype. And that's exactly what we got with Lions Ravens on this Monday night. A fantastic Monday night game between two very good football teams. Let's start, David, with the roads, the divergent paths chosen by these head coaches with decisions in the fourth quarter. 1:56 left in the game, 4th and 2 for the Lions near midfield. And Dan Campbell does the Dan Campbell thing. The Lions go for it. And it's just a beautiful call, beautiful execution, and a very Lions moment as we've come to understand this team over the last couple of years.
My favorite part about it is that the next gen models, they're getting passed around social media, and they were getting passed around in the moment because it happened at the 2-minute warning. So you had like a 4-minute commercial break to dwell on it. It wasn't even that obvious of a situation. Like it was like a 2% go. Like it's a narrow go for it. Like ultimately the models do say go for it, but it's not this like blinking red light where you're like, of course, this is what you should do. Like punting there is a justifiable decision, but it's not a Dan Campbell decision. And I love that even when it's not super duper obvious, Dan is still like, yeah, man, this is what we do. And great play call. Amon-Ra St. Brown continues to be amazing. He ate Marlon Humphrey up in a few high leverage moments in this game. And then you get the Montgomery touchdown right after that. It sure looked like the conversion broke the Ravens' spirit. Like when you give up a 31-yard rushing touchdown on the very next snap, it felt like the Ravens were like, ah, crap. That was the game, wasn't it?
And like, yeah, that happens way too often with this team, which we can talk about in a little bit. But that call to me, the 4th and 2, I think is very like, if you were a Lions fan, a little bit worried about like, what do things look like in the next chapter of the Dan Campbell era? You got the part of it that you knew Dan Campbell was going to give you, which is we're going to go for it. Like that's what they do. And then you get the part of like, okay, well, how good is the play calling going to be without Ben Johnson, who has been there for 3-4 years? And on that play, they kind of shuffle motion Amon-Ra St. Brown in to look like they're about to run duo on 4th and 2, one of their favorite runs. And he just kind of fits in there like he's about to block and he slips out and runs the corner out. Like it's a beautiful design, beautiful call. That is what we thought Lions football could be. And like, if they're going to be able to survive some of these coaching changes like that and convert on those plays, like that's incredible.
They had a few of those today. I mean, obviously the 4th and 2 with the pitch that Amon-Ra St. Brown has in the red zone on the touchdown to Gibbs is a beautiful design. They have a throwback for Jared Goff for a 17-yard chunk at some point in this game. I said it last week after the Bears game. Looked like the old Lions offense. I mean, the continuity they've shown and the ability to keep this rolling without Ben Johnson has been excellent up to this point. And mentioned the 4th and 2 decision to go for it, but the Lions had 4 third down conversions in this game in huge high leverage moments. The 4th and 2 touchdown that Amon-Ra St. Brown pitches to Jahmyr Gibbs, the 4th and 2 that Amon-Ra gets on the insert to seal the game, and then the one that probably will not be remembered, but is a huge play in such a tight game, opening drive, 4th and 3, they go for it and they get it. And this team has retained that approach to these high leverage moments, and it continues to benefit them. And then on the other side of it, the Ravens don't decide to go for it on that 4th and 9 on their second to last drive, and it ends up coming back to bite them. And that one obviously is a tougher decision, Dave, to go for it on 4th and 9 in that moment. But you have to know that punting that ball away when the Lions have been this efficient on offense is dangerous. And the thing about that actually was surprising to me is what I really like about the Lions approach is that they always are thinking one play ahead when it comes to situational football. If we know we're going for it on 4th down, we're going to call something specific on 3rd down. And that was the surprising part to me about the Ravens' 3rd down play call on that 3rd and 12. If you go back and watch it, it is a deep developing play where it's all or nothing. They're either going to pick up that chunk on 3rd and 12, or they're probably going to be facing a 4th and long and decide to punt. I was a little bit surprised that they didn't approach the 3rd down a little bit differently, just in case it wanted to give them a chance to go for it on 4th down.
Which is especially surprising because the tight ends were so effective in this game. Like Mark Andrews obviously was amazing, but Charlie Kolar as well. Like, and it didn't seem like the Ravens on live watching anyway. It didn't seem like the Ravens were really trying to hurt the Lions short over the middle of the field the way that you might expect. I mean, the Lions did it repeatedly. Like Sam Laporta had so many big moments in this game, and I don't feel like you saw the same type of stuff from the Ravens. It is funny because again, it's not a it's not an obvious go for it situation where like the morning talk shows are going to be doing segments on it the way that we often see in games like this. But the way that the Ravens got gashed in this game, yeah, like I would have liked to see more progressive thinking from John Harbaugh there, because Lamar Jackson was always going to be your ticket out of this after a certain point.
I mean, I almost kind of wonder if like it being such a deep developing concept on third down, the idea was that if Lamar wants to just be his own check down and go get us 8, he can. But the Lions, for a majority of this game, did a pretty good job of keeping him in the pocket and like not allowing him to get out on a lot of those scrambles.
I was going to say he was not. Yeah, sorry, Robert,
I loved what they were doing. They tapped into something a little bit later in the game that they started trotting out, and they ran multiple different coverages out of it. But the play that really jumps out to me, so what they were doing is they were dropping 8, and then one of the off-ball linebackers was just kind of playing as a spy. And the play that to me is one of the biggest of the entire game, the Nowaski sack that torpedoes that drive with about 11:35 in the fourth quarter. It's exactly what they're doing. They drop 8 on that play with the spy. They're playing 2-man behind it. Lamar tries to take off, and Nowaski's just sitting there waiting for him and drops him. And they did that multiple different times where they're bringing 3. They have a linebacker kind of just playing just off the ball, and they're playing a variety of coverages behind it. And the Ravens had trouble moving the ball on time consistently throughout this game. Like, the numbers are going to look really good for Lamar down to down when it comes to throwing the ball. He took 7 sacks, and even a lot of the plays that they made in this game, Derrik, are deep into the down where he's really having to create something. And a lot of that is coverage. So we're going to talk about 7 sacks in this game, and people are going to think, oh man, the Lions defensive line just dominated this thing. 6.07 seconds average time to sack for Lamar Jackson on those 7 sacks in this game. Just for context, league average is 4.7 seconds. Jaden Daniels leads the league at 5.78. So this is not the defensive line getting after it. This is Kelvin Shepherd throwing a bunch of stuff at the Ravens that they really had some trouble working through. And I think that play that you're talking about, where they do the exact same thing and kind of dare him to scramble because they have somebody waiting for him, I thought was a very good game plan by Kelvin Shepherd as we got deeper into the second half.
And even some of the stuff they did hit on time was all outside of the numbers. Like the Mark Andrews touchdown they throw off of a little bit of like a play action. They hit that one. That one was pretty nice. DeAndre Hopkins has to the left side where Lamar just kind of like hits top of his drop, throws that one to him and throws,
which is a miraculous play.
Insane.
And there were too many miraculous plays for the Ravens in this game.
Yeah, and like again, some of them it was either if it was on time, it was outside the numbers, and if it wasn't, it was Lamar having to move around a lot. And again, when the ball came out, good things happened for the Ravens, but the ball just did not come out as much as it needed to. And I do think I think Lamar generally has a very good trigger and understanding for like, when is it time to just pull the ripcord and go. He looked a little hesitant about like what he wanted to do with the ball in terms of like, do I leave? Do I throw the ball? Like, do I run? He seemed just a little bit more antsy and hesitant than he usually is as a playmaker.
I felt like the Ravens offense was scrambling even when they were moving the ball efficiently in this game. And the Lions, it felt like it was easy for them the entire day. And I think even when the game was close, you could sense that a little bit, just how smooth everything felt offensively for the Lions. And, there's a little bit of me watching the difference in the fourth down decision making and thinking about how John Harbaugh used to be that guy, right? John Harbaugh used to be that guy where they always made the right fourth down decision. Situationally, they were always winning. And we talked so much this offseason about whether the Lions could establish themselves as one of those mainstay franchises, right? Through this attrition, could you show that you are now one of the staple teams in the NFL? And in a lot of ways, the Lions tonight kind of out-Ravens the Ravens. Mm-hmm. The fourth down decision is part of that, but the other part of it is just I don't know if I could swear on this, is the fuck you energy they brought to running the ball in this game. Mm-hmm. I mean, you watch what the Lions did on the ground, and we talk about the play calling strength and how that is carried over from last year. The other element of this, Dave, that felt like an echo of previous Lions teams is they said, we're going to run the ball down your throat this entire game, and there is nothing that you can do about it. 60% rushing success rate for the Lions. But what's more impressive to me is how they were doing it. There's nothing funny about what the Lions run game looked like today. There isn't a lot of misdirection. There's not a lot of eye discipline. They lined up in condensed formations, ran downhill runs, and ripped off like 7-8 yards at a time throughout this entire game. That was a statement, approach, and performance by that offensive line.
I mean, let's talk about the freaking Oh my God. 18 plays, 98 yards. And
Multiple times they did that.
dude, I'm glad you said that, Derek, because I looked it up. Thanks to True Media. This is how I know. The Lions are the third team this century to put together two 96-plus yard touchdown drives in one game. It's happened 3 times since the year 2000. Just like an utterly, real FU football happening there. And at one point during that drive, I had it in my notes. Like, they ran the ball like 3 times in a row, and 4 out of 6 snaps in the middle sequence of that, like before they got down to the goal line. That's not supposed to work in the NFL. Like, you're not supposed to be able to do that. It was incredible from a Lions perspective. It was so demoralizing from a Ravens perspective. I said this in the Discord during the game where I was like, it sucks that Nnamdi Madubuike wasn't part of this game. We highlighted him on the preview show. He gets ruled inactive over the weekend. I'm not going to hold it against Christian Mahogany and Tate Ratledge that he wasn't there. Like, this was incredible no matter what. You're not supposed to be able to whip people's ass up front the way the Lions just did in a big spot on the road, by the way.
Travis Jones is a big man.
It didn't matter. It didn't look like it.
They were moving the line of scrimmage in this game. This was a bludgeoning. Like, there's no way around it. This was a bludgeoning from start to finish. The way that you look at those double teams and the movement they were getting on them, and obviously there's no all 22 in real time, but you're going to go back and people are going to watch that film tomorrow, and it is going to be some, like, not safe for work type stuff, what is going on up front. Ratledge and Sewell specifically, and the way that that right side was just moving throughout that game. You watch some of those double teams on replay. My goodness gracious. And that's the other part of this that I think is worth mentioning. Not only, there's a lot of changes on the staff. John Morton is a new offensive play caller. Hank Fraley being there, that was always the thing that I feel like if you were a Lions fan, you could really take solace in, is that the line was still probably going to be the same ecosystem that has been great over the last couple of years. And tonight, Derek, it was absolutely on display to that degree.
It was like, that was, if you're a Lions fan, that was the exact game that you want to see, to be like, okay, all these young pieces are coming together. Keeping Hank Fraley has done what we wanted it to. Like, every time there were a couple of sequences early on in the game where, like, the Ravens guys were winning some of, like, their one-on-one scenarios, the defensive tackles, but anytime it was 4 hands, like whenever the Lions were running duo, it just was like instantly blown 3 yards off the ball, climbed to a linebacker, he gets knocked 2 yards back, even further. And then you give that to guys who are as dynamic in the open field as Jahmyr Gibbs, and then weirdly enough, David Montgomery being the one who rips off the longest run of the game, which, by the way, I know they lose this game. Marlon Humphrey was hauling ass to go and catch up to him, by the way. That was insane to me. I could not believe that he caught him.
I'm sure David Montgomery's going to hear about that during the film session
he will.
later this week. He's going to hear about that one, unfortunately.
I had a brief moment where I was like, holy crap, is Montgomery going to house this? Like, is he going to get there? And then very quickly I was like, no, he is not.
But that 98-yard drive that they had, that was a David Montgomery drive.
Mm-hmm.
It was not only, obviously has the 72-yard run, but on that drive, it starts on a 3rd and 7 conversion where they hit Sam Laporta, one of his 3 third down conversions in the first half. And on that play, the Ravens are bringing 6, and Montgomery just meets Roquan Smith in the A-gap. And we've seen so many teams pick on these backs in pass protection over the first 2 weeks. David Montgomery said, not today. And then on that drive, 13-yard reception, 9-yard run, 8-yard run, 10-yard run, and then finishes off with a touchdown. He had a fantastic day today.
Yeah.
The other guy that I feel like on the offense, we talked about the offensive line, talked about Montgomery, talked about Laporta. This is a really good Jared Goff game, too. I mean, Jared Goff was
That's
fantastic.
where I was going to go.
Can we talk about the one funny throw before we do the good stuff?
So it was
the heat check?
It was the one where he was moving up in the pocket and trying to make the play on the
field. He's trying to, like, 360 no scope, like, do all this stuff. It's like, brother, that is not your game, and that's okay.
Let Jared Goff feel himself, okay? Like, in that moment, I was like, Jared, you've played so well, but you're just not Josh Allen, and that's okay. That's all right.
I was watching, my wife was on the couch for like that 5-minute stretch of the game where that happened. And she was like, why wouldn't he just run for the first down? And I wanted to, like, let her down very gently. It's just like, That's just not going to happen.
Doesn't do
If
that.
you see it in real time, there is a tiny bit of space, but there's a safety closing like that. He's not going to pick that up, and he's probably going to get massacred in the process. But she had just watched Lamar Jackson for like 5 minutes, and so I think she had a warped understanding of what a quarterback could do in that situation.
Maybe that's what happened to Goff too. He was like, Eight just did it. Yeah, Eight just did it.
So I think top to bottom, this is the exact type of performance you want to see from the Lions. The two coordinators doing a lot of work. Every aspect of this team you want it to carry over that has made them who they've been over the last couple of years really showing up. Where are we at with the Ravens right now? Because I think that you could say the same thing on the other side of it, where the Lions have a 60% rushing success rate in this game. The Ravens, again, 31.3. And last week, we know what that Browns defense has been able to do to people over the first couple of weeks of the season, including yesterday against a Packers team that was rolling. The Lions defense is a good group. It's not that type of group where you should not be able to run the ball at all on your terms. And again, the Ravens struggled to do that. And it felt like the passing game was kind of out of sorts. You combine that with the middle of the defense being really there to be exploited in the way that it has been over the first couple of weeks. I mean, Derrik, we know the heights the Ravens are capable of. As you're sitting here 3 weeks into the season, how much of this is like real cause for concern for you?
I think the offense will be fine. And like, they're not going to be as good as they were last year, where they were a machine and truly for a lot of parts of the season, the best offense in the league. I don't think I think the way that the offensive line is functioning, the way that the run game is functioning, they're not going to reach that. But so long as Lamar Jackson is playing at the level that he's playing at, and they have enough of these pass catchers, they will be like a top 8 offense. I don't really have much concerns about that. The defense is it's hard to imagine how this gets a whole lot better. Because again, these defensive tackles, we came into the week saying it. You can move them around. And if you move them around, these linebackers are not helping them a whole lot. And it's not like the pass rush, even when you get into clear passing situations, is like that much of a boon for the secondary behind them. So I think the secondary, outside of cornerback 2 specifically, is really talented. Like Nate Wiggins is awesome. Marlon Humphrey's good.
Not a great game from him tonight. He is a player, boy.
The
Nate
one
Wiggins.
crosser that he defends later in the game,
disgusting.
Incredible. So like it's frustrating that they're kind of burning this talent, right? Like the secondary on paper could like be the best in the league. It's just that like I think the front 7 is kind of failing them. And a lot of that is like Roquan Smith is not playing to his level. Again, the pass rush is not what they want it to be with some of these young players. And then the defensive tackle room is just constantly getting pushed off of the ball. And if part of your formula is our secondary is so good, and if we get you into passing downs, we can win. Well, what if you're just in 2nd and 4 all the time? Then it doesn't matter.
And Roquan Smith continues to struggle not only against the run, but in coverage too.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to do this with y'all. I'm going to plant my flag right here and say I'm not worried about the Ravens, and I refuse to be worried about the Ravens until something way crazier than losing to the Detroit Lions happens.
I 100% agree with that. Like, I don't think that I'm worried about the Ravens moving forward. The Ravens are 1-2. They lose it.
They're going to win the division. Like
the Ravens are 1-2. They lose in week 1 against the Bills in part because Derrick Henry fumbles in his own territory and the Bills go on to win the game. If Derrick Henry doesn't fumble in this game, there's a chance that they win the game. They don't get a 4th and 2 at the goal line. I'm not scared about this. I just think that there are areas of the team that are surprisingly ineffective given what we have seen from this team in years past.
It's 1,000% fair, but it's September 22nd. And yeah, I mean, if the best running back of his generation doesn't out of character fumble in crunch time of 2 games against Super Bowl contenders, by the way, the Lions and Bills are both teams that we didn't even debate their merits. We just put them on the Super Bowl contender list. We did that at the beginning of the season, and you're a couple plays away from being 3-0 with wins over those teams. And yeah, like the defense looks really bad. The run defense in particular, their 2nd worst rushing defense success rate for week 3. I think it was ironically
worst in the league overall.
Oh, worst in the league for the season, but 2nd worst in the league for this particular week. Like, just they're bad. But Matabike didn't play. Kyle Van Noy didn't play. I don't know really what it means right now that Jair Alexander didn't play, but he also did not play. You've got 2 big-time draft picks like Malachi Starks and Mike Green, who you can at least – this is copium, but you can at least hope those guys will be better players in December than they are in September. And again, the Ravens have recent history of just sort of flipping a switch and being much better after 6 to 8 weeks on task. So it's not good, but I am firmly fine with the Baltimore Ravens. Like I'm not going to lose a lot of sleep about where they are, even with how ugly it has looked at times.
Derrick's point about the division is a very good one, because now with the Bengals,
especially now, yeah,
now with the Bengals probably just being an also ran for the entire season, it does feel like even a flawed Ravens team is probably going to walk to an AFC North title unless something absolutely crazy happens. So I think there's some solace to be found in that. I think they'll probably be fine. And you talk about the way that the Lions and the Bills are both built. I don't think there are two teams in the NFL at their best that are more capable of just running the ball straight down your throat in the way that the Lions and the Bills want to stylistically, which all the duo and downhill runs that those teams want to run. So I think that there are bad matchups against good teams where you get a couple bad breaks and you end up losing those games. But I do think there are more weaknesses with this Ravens team than I probably expected 3 weeks into the season.
I think that's fair. And I was the one, I took the Ravens first in the wins pool. Like I have high hopes. I think
they'll win the Super Bowl. I get it.
Yeah. So that is fair. To be 1-2 3 weeks into the season is not where you expect this team to be. But when you consider the competition, when you consider some of the other things, like it doesn't affect my overall opinion of what they're capable of. At least not yet. I need something way more troubling to happen before I'm thinking that way.
It's September 22nd. I think it's just important to continue to remind ourselves of that. It's September 22nd.
And that is a good approach to it, Dave. That's a very measured approach. The way that they continue to lose games makes me very emotional about.
You're just disappointed in them. I think
yes, I am
driving your approach to this, Derrik. You're just disappointed.
I am. They just they are the better team, and then they somehow find a way to not be the better team, and it's very frustrating.
I think I can make an argument about them being the better team right now. I think that there is a lot of like, Lamar, go figure this out, especially on offense with the way that things are going. That offensive line just isn't playing the way that it did last year. And so I think that obviously they're capable of a ton and they deserve a lot of trust based on what the Ravens have been. But I would take issue with the fact that they're just the better team than the ones across from them right now, given the fact that the Bills and the Lions have been two of the three teams that they've played this year.
I guess I mean for like large swaths of the game, they look like the better team. Like you can
today,
make
I don't feel that way though.
Today maybe not.
Today I don't feel that way.
I thought especially after halftime. Maybe even before halftime. Yeah. Like after the first couple possessions of the first quarter, I was like, oh, I think the Lions are better, at least on this night.
Yeah, I think against the Bills in week 1, you absolutely can make that argument. Tonight against the Lions, the Lions moved the ball with ease through this entire game. And again, I think that there was a lot of, oh man, look at Lamar go on some of those like just crazy plays that he had to make in the first half. And I think that there was a little bit of a scattered, frantic, manic energy for the Ravens offense, even when things were going well today, and you never felt that from the Lions. The last thing I want to say about this, after watching the Lions the last 2 weeks and after watching the Packers over the first 2 weeks, the NFC North is going to be fun to watch this year. I am very much looking forward to those two teams going at it to see who ends up winning that division. It's going to be a blast. All right. That is all we've got for a phenomenal Week 3 Monday Night Football game. We will be back here on Thursday night to break down Seahawks Cardinals. I think I got that right. I believe that is the Thursday night game this week. The fact that I know the Thursday night game 3 days in advance is a surprise, given how I typically approach the schedule. But a good Thursday night game. Very excited to be back looking at that one. If you have not checked out the Monday Hangover episode of the Athletic Football Show with me and Derrik, breaking down 3 games that we did not hit on the Sunday night recap, that will be available in your podcast feed and YouTube channel overnight. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Would sincerely appreciate if everybody watching did that. Obviously, the YouTube channel, we're doing a bunch of new stuff this year. If you have not checked out Derrick's first film breakdown that we did last week about those Detroit Lions and some of the stuff that they set up against the Bears, highly encourage you guys to check that stuff out. As we've said a couple different times, we have access to NFL highlights now at The Athletic, and it is allowing us to do a lot more on the YouTube side than we've ever done before. Our Week 3 recap has a bunch of clips in there, plays that we're talking about. So really excited about the stuff that we're able to bring you guys on YouTube this year. Hope you're enjoying it, because we certainly are, and be on the lookout for a lot more of it over the course of this week. For now, that is all we got. Sincerely appreciate you guys listening. We'll be back very soon.